Imagine spending more than 20 years behind bars. Not because you had a choice, but because the world gave up on you when you were just a child. No family, no home, no plan. And then one day, you walk out of prison with nothing, and somehow you become a legend. This is the real story of David Allan Coe, a man who spent his childhood in reform schools and his adult years in prison. A man who had every single reason to disappear into the darkness, but instead, he picked up a guitar and changed country music forever. Today we're breaking down what his life really teaches us about resilience, identity, and what it means to never, ever give up. David Allan Coe was born in Akron, Ohio in 1939. By the time he was 9 years old, he had already been sent to reform school. Think about that for a second. 9 years old, and the system had already decided he was a problem. He didn't grow up with birthday cakes, family dinners, or bedtime stories. He grew up with iron bars, cold walls, and strict rules. While most kids were learning to ride bikes, David was learning how to survive. Reform school after reform school, institution after institution. He wasn't being raised by love. He was being shaped by confinement. And yet, something deep inside him refused to break. As David got older, his time in institutions became real prison sentences. He spent over 20 years in various prisons and correctional facilities across America. But here's what most people don't know. While he was inside, David Allan Coe taught himself music. He picked up the guitar. He began writing songs. He turned his pain into poetry. Prison walls could lock up his body, but they could not cage his creativity. Every dark, lonely cell became a recording studio inside his mind. While other inmates were counting down the days, David was building something. He was slowly, quietly becoming an artist. When David Allan Coe finally walked free, he had nothing in his pockets. No house, no money, no music contacts. He literally lived in a hearse parked outside the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville. That's the sacred home of country music. And this man, fresh out of prison, parked right outside its front door. Not to beg, not to give up, but to say, I belong here, and I am not leaving until you hear me. That kind of belief, that unshakable sense of purpose, is something most people search for their whole lives and never find. Nashville wasn't exactly rolling out a red carpet for an ex-convict with wild stories and rough edges. The music industry had rules, expectations, a carefully polished image. And David Allan Coe was none of those things. He was raw, he was real, he was completely unfiltered. So they closed doors on him, and he knocked harder. He performed wherever anyone would let him, on streets, in bars, in small venues nobody cared about. And slowly, something started to happen. People started listening, because the truth always finds an audience. His pain was real, his voice was honest, and people felt every single word. David Allan Coe didn't just perform his own music, he wrote for others too. He wrote Take This Job and Shove It, one of the most legendary working-class anthems in American music history. He wrote Would You Lay With Me in a Field of Stone, which Tanya Tucker turned into a massive hit. He wrote songs for people who felt forgotten, people who felt stuck, people who felt like the world had already written them off. Sound familiar? He became the official voice of the outsider because he had lived it. Every single difficult, painful, beautiful word. David Allan Coe never fully fit the Nashville mold, and he never tried to. He rode motorcycles, he wore outlaw gear, he said what others were afraid to say, and that became his greatest superpower. He didn't try to fit in, he owned who he was, completely and unapologetically. His strangeness wasn't a weakness, it was his voice, his brand, his identity. The very thing they said was wrong about him turned out to be exactly right. Here is the psychological truth that David Allan Coe's life reveals. The things that break most people can become the very things that define the great ones. Every hardship he experienced, the reform schools, the prison cells, the rejection from Nashville, became raw material. He didn't escape his past, he used it. He turned his wounds into wisdom, his pain into art, his dark story into lasting legend. The difference between those who rise and those who stay down is not the hardship, it is the decision of what to do with it. So, what can we actually take from his story? Let's break it down into 5 things you can start doing today. Step 1. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. David didn't wait until he had a record deal, a nice home, or a music manager. He started from wherever he was, even if that place was a parked hearse on a Nashville street. Step 2. Use your pain as material. Whatever you have been through, that experience is completely unique to you. Don't bury it, don't hide it. Use it. Your story is your most powerful asset. Step 3. Knock on more doors. Nashville said no. He knocked again, and again, and again. The right door will open, but only if you keep going. Step 4. Own what makes you different. Your rough edges, your unusual past, your strange story. That is not a flaw. That is your identity. Stop apologizing for it. Step 5. Build your craft in the dark. David built his music skills in prison with no audience, no applause, and no guarantee it would ever matter. Do the work anyway. Your best chapter might be quietly forming in a place where no one can see you yet. David Allan Coe spent more than 20 years behind bars. He walked out with nothing and built a life that most people only dream about. Not because life was fair to him, not because he got lucky, not because someone handed him a chance, but because he never, for a single day, stopped believing that his story wasn't over. And here is what I want you to remember when you close this video. No matter where you are right now, no matter what chapter you're stuck in, no matter how many doors have been closed in your face, your story is not over either.